And in the middle is Alex Armos, Samuel's father, and on the right is Dr. Joseph P. Bruner. Dr. Bruner was the pioneer of fetal surgery to correct spina bifida in the womb. This is my vantage point in the operating room. There were sometimes up to 15 people gathered around this gurney. I said it was like 4 people deep. I mean, it was just completely filled, the room was. This is an excerpt from Robert Davis's story for USA Today. This is how he began his story, and I quote, "In the hushed but crowded operating room, where outsiders have gathered to watch a rare medical event, spinal surgery on a fetus still in his mother's womb, a stool falls with a loud bang. Shh, said Joseph Bruner, the surgeon leading the operation. You'll wake the baby." Just over 1 hour into the surgery, the doctors began to close the surgical opening to the uterus, and Dr. Bruner made a comment, and you could just feel the tension in the operating room just lift. The critical part of the surgery was over. Dr. Noel Tulipan was standing to my left, and he said, "What speed of film are you using?" And as I responded, 800 Fuji. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the uterus and it shook violently. But it had to be shaking from within because no one was near it. Then immediately, this little fist came flying out of the surgical opening, and this unborn child's arm couldn't have been longer than this from top to bottom. It was flailing back and forth. Now, Dr. Bruner and I, we had the surgical masks on. All we could see was each other's eyes. Dr. Bruner and I, we looked right at each other, and he reached over to the flailing little arm. And before he could reach Samuel's arm, Samuel pulled back till just this little hand was sticking out of the opening. And as he lifted Samuel's hand, I fired the first frame of a 4-frame motor drive sequence, and I just held my camera's motor drive as fast as it would fire. These are the 4 frames I captured that day. I captured these 4 frames, I would say, in about 2 seconds. It'll recycle, and I'll talk you through the 4 frames. This will be the first frame coming up, where that's the initial contact. And the second frame, as I said, I just held my motor drive. The second frame is the doctor paused as if he was waiting for a response. And of course, the third frame is Samuel squeezing, and the doctor as if he was standing next to a baby's crib, shaking the little hand. And as a sidebar, when this is over with, it happened so fast. I looked down at my camera, and my knees almost buckled because I didn't walk into that operating room expecting an action photograph. My shutter speed was set at a 60th of a second. And if you know anything about photography, maybe some do, a 60th of a second won't stop my lips from moving. You know how when you're driving in a car and you take a picture with an Instamatic, it's a blur when you get it back? If you could set your shutter speed at 500th of a second, it wouldn't be a blur. Well, like I said, my knees almost buckled, and I realized at that time that little Samuel squeezed long enough and hard enough for that picture to come out in focus. This is so much more than a little picture. The nurse standing next to me, everything happened so fast. The nurse standing next to me said, "What happened?" I said, "The child reached out." She said, "Oh, they do that all the time." 2 things. There's many things that haunt me in this journey that I've been on. Hush, you'll wake the baby. And they do that all the time. It's kind of some Freudian slips that should never have come out. Well, I guess Dr. Bruner looks back on it, and I'm sure he second guesses where he ever should have allowed me in there. This picture has really hurt the pro-abortion lobby. I was told by the photo editor at USA Today that had hired me to send my unprocessed film. I have 9 36 exposure rolls of Fuji film. This is my last year of film. I switched to digital after this. But I was told to send my unprocessed film. I couldn't process it. I couldn't stop at a 1-hour lab and get negatives only processed just to see if the picture had come out in focus. So I sent the 9 rolls of film to them, and I was on pins and needles waiting to hear from the USA Today photo lab, and it seemed like 10 days before Kevin Eanes, the photo editor that had hired me, he finally got me on the phone and he said, "Michael, it's the most incredible picture I've ever seen." And I went, "Yes!" so I really had no idea what he was talking about. Well, now, the Tennessean newspaper in Nashville is part of the Gannett newspaper chain, as is USA Today, the folks that hired me. Well, the Tennessean newspaper fought to publish the picture the same day that USA Today broke the picture, on September 7th, 1999. After that picture published, I thought that someone from Vanderbilt University Medical Center might call me and congratulate me on capturing such an image. And I finally couldn't take it any longer, and I called John Hauser myself. I guess I was fishing for a compliment, but remember, John Hauser was a public relations guy that held my hand the day of that surgery, and he spent the day with me that day. John got on the phone and he said, "You nailed it." He then went on to explain to me that the picture had already been done. I said, "John, what are you talking about?" The Tennessean newspaper, the newsroom, was talking about a Pulitzer Prize. And you don't win a Pulitzer Prize for something that's already been done. John went on to explain to me that Life magazine had approached Vanderbilt with a story idea to show how far medical science had progressed in the 20th century. They wanted to shoot a photograph and publish it on the cover of the final issue of the 20th century, December 1999, a picture very similar to mine of a baby's outstretched arm reached out from his mother's womb. I said, "But John, their picture is posed, right?" He said, "Yes." I said, "You mean they've already shot this picture?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "It's incredible." I said, "John, how old is the Life magazine baby?" He said, "The Life magazine baby is 24 weeks. I said, "John, my picture is real, it's not posed, and my baby is 21 weeks, the earliest the surgical team will consider for this surgery. Life magazine should use my picture instead." John didn't answer. It was apparent he was not happy with me. I then found myself in a 4-day negotiation with Life magazine. They wanted to purchase all rights to my picture to keep it from ever being published again. This is the Life magazine photograph. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this picture before. This is the outstretched arm of 24-week in utero Sarah Marie Switzer. This is an incredible photograph. It is a Life magazine quality photograph. My picture isn't. It just isn't. But it is clearly a posed photograph of a child under anesthesia, and my picture clearly is not. Anyway, the agent representing me in the negotiations with Life magazine said, and I quote, "Life magazine wants to purchase all rights to your picture. They want to buy it to kill it." I said, "Bad choice of words. There isn't enough money in the world that would allow that to happen." After 4 days, my agent negotiating with Life magazine decided to pass on using my picture instead of theirs. And it was now time to fight for my photograph, because when Samuel reached from his mother's womb and responded to the touch of his surgeon, he made history as the earliest human interaction. And history is important. It's absolutely important. It was a race to get my picture published before Life magazine could go to press with their picture. Remember, my picture published September 7th. I had the rest of September, all of October, all of November before the December issue of Life magazine hit the newsstand. Actually, when I can look back, Life magazine didn't have a chance. They didn't. It was just a little old country boy from Tennessee and a bigger God than anybody ever anticipated. Picture of Samuel, published in the September-October issue of VSD magazine. It was described to me as the People magazine of France. By mid-October, the picture had gone into syndication and had been published in newspapers, magazines in Scotland, France, England, and Ireland. And it was published in the November 1999 issue of the National Enquirer, and Matt Drudge tried to show the picture on his Fox television show, and Fox Network censor said, "You can't show that picture, you're going to talk about abortion." Matt Drudge got up and walked off the set. That was the end of his television career over this photograph. I don't know